Greetings fellow Helldivers, Goon here. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my regular build which I use for bot missions. Firstly, I was just going to list the equipment and stratagems that I use, and then I'll talk about the pros and cons of each item. Then I'll round off by listing the pros and cons of the build as a whole. Okay, so let's start with the equipment. For armor, I run any light armor with the scout trait. I use the Scorcher as my primary weapon, and I use the grenade pistol as a secondary, and finally I use impact grenades as my throwable. For stratagems, I run the Orbital Laser, 380 Barrage and the 500 Eagle, and the Spear as the support weapon. The booster varies on what my teammates are running at the time. Let's talk more about the armor. As I said, I run any light scout armor, as I found that it is very effective at concealing Helldivers from the enemy. There have been instances where I've only been about a few meters away from enemy patrols or sentries, and they haven't seen me. Concealment is the key to defeating the automaton scum. You'll learn how close you can get as time goes on, but it is a huge pro that you can move freely on bot missions. The downside of this armor is that when it pops off, i.e. combat, which it always does, you're very susceptible to quick and horrible deaths. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the primary weapon, the Scorcher. It's very popular amongst Helldivers, slaughtering bots due to its explosive damage. It is effective at taking out all light and mid-armoured bots, but has basically zero impact against heavily armoured enemies. It can also be used against gunships. 2 full clips will usually take one down. So I've found that the negative of this weapon is that it has a short clip with only 15 shots, which means that you have to be relatively accurate or you'll find yourself defenseless with an empty gun and constantly reloading. So keep an eye on your ammo and try your best to hit your targets. Next up is the grenade pistol. The grenade pistol is a handy secondary to have, as you can destroy fabricators with it, and in a pinch it can be used against all varieties of devastators. Heavy devs, rocket devs and just your standard devs. These can be taken down usually in 2 shots. Sadly though, it requires reloading after every shot, but you're unlikely to use it that much anyway. It's just a backup. The final piece of equipment that I run is the impact grenade as my throwable. Impact grenades can destroy all devastators in one hit. They can also be used to destroy fabricators. The downside is that, as with all grenades, is that you can only have a small supply. Okay, so now that we've talked equipment, let's talk stratagems. The Orbital Laser is essential for this build. It's good for destroying heavy outposts, as I've highlighted in another video which you can access at the end of this video through the element. It's also good for clearing large groups of enemies. Heavies such as tanks and hulks can also be used against factory striders. It is oftentimes the best way to take out main objectives as well, such as command bunkers or dropship bases. The next stratagem that I take is the Spear, and by far and away it is the most important stratagem for this build. It can destroy tanks, hulks and cannon turrets in one shot. Sometimes hulks take 2 shots, but oftentimes it will take them out in 1. It can be used to destroy fabricators from good distances, which can be very helpful against stratagem jammers which have a fabricator attached. Perhaps the best thing that the Spear has going for it though is that it will take down gunships in a single hit, and with its locking on capability it is borderline impossible to miss. This allows you to approach gunship fabricators and quickly dispose of up to 4 gunships in succession before calling in a hellbomb to take out the structure. You can also defend the hellbomb until it explodes from aerial assault, turning one of the hardest side objectives into a walk in the park basically. Okay, so the next stratagem that I use is the Eagle 500. It's good for taking out clusters of enemies or for destroying medium and light outposts. I mostly use the Spear to destroy these outposts in order to keep distance. However, if you want to use the 500, you'll also take out any enemies that might pursue you, whereas with the Spear, you just take out the fabricator and then the enemies are going to open fire on you directly. It's also essential for taking out particular heavy outposts quickly, which I describe in my other video. Okay, so the last stratagem that I take with me is the 380 Orbital Barrage. It can be used against overwhelming numbers of enemies or enemy structures such as detector towers, mortar emplacements, anti-aircraft guns. Basically throw the barrage on the target area and retreat. Once the barrage is over, you can go back and find yourself dealing with a far less difficult situation, or if you're lucky, it's completely destroyed the target and you're just going to be able to move on from that objective. The big problem with the 380 barrage is that if you're not in complete comms with your teammates, you're probably going to end up killing them over and over and over. And also, because it doesn't have a precision strike capability, you're going to end up just hoping that you actually hit your target. So that is the biggest downside of it. However, having said that, it does have a massive area of effect, and as a result, you can pretty much throw it in difficult circumstances and on any base or outpost. Okay, so now I'm just going to give a general overview on the best way to use this this build. Basically what you're doing is a run and gun mentality. You infiltrate, you destroy the fabricators, and then you evacuate the area before the bots have a chance to actually open fire on you. The scout armor ensures that you can get close enough that without being seen, and then most of the time when you're on the retreat, just make sure that you're using the cover to keep yourself safe. I've run this build over and over and over now, and I've never had any problems with it at all. There was a time when I switched to medium armor with extra padding in order to prevent myself from being injured, but I've found that being sneaky is actually far more effective, because you're inevitably going to die even with the medium padding if enough bots are targeting you, so it really doesn't matter whether you're running light or medium in that circumstance. So basically what I would advise doing is running the light so that you actually can remain concealed for as long as possible. Then this gives you the opportunity, as I say, to destroy as many outposts and fabricators as possible before you can move on to the main objectives. Okay, so that's my build that I use for bots. I find it to be very effective, as I've mentioned before. Try it. Tell me what you think in the comments. If it sucks, let me know. But if, like me, you find that it's actually incredibly effective, also let me know in the comments, because I'd like to see how many of you are actually enjoying the build that I have provided. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.